Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 29th of April, 12 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for today, in which I will share all the latest news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages for this moment. Second update will be as usual on my Patreon page a little bit late in the afternoon with additional information that Russian media will report during the day. There are quite a few very significant developments that and news that I like to share with you for this moment. But before I start, let me address yesterday's story. Many of you probably knew, but some may don't. What happened is that during the live stream of the Duran channel, one of the members of our community, Nick Corell, did write a comment to hosts of the Duran channel, Alex Christoforou and Alexander Mercouris, and ask if they will consider to invite me on the show. And Alex and Alexander did respond to Nick, and they said that they are considering such a possibility. So maybe, just maybe, I will be invited on the Duran. And if it will happen, of course, it will be a huge step for our channel and priceless experience for me personally. So let's see how it goes. Now I just want to thank Nick Corell for his support and attention. I was pleasantly surprised. I left speechless basically because I was listening. I was writing something and same time I was listening to Duran live stream, and when they start talking about our channel, I was like speechless for quite a few seconds, thinking, what is happening, man? So yes, of course, I'm very grateful to Nick Corell. I'm grateful for Alex Christoforou and Alexander Mercouris for giving me attention. And by the way, I want also to thank John Dickinson. You all are familiar with him because it's John that makes timestamps for our channel. And a few weeks ago, John also did a comment on the Duran show, and then our channel was mentioned, as I understand, first time. So thanks to John, he is very supportive and helpful. And by the way, thanks to all of you, because without you, I know that not just Nick and John try to bring attention to our channel from big names in this field of news and political commentary. So thank you all. Thank you, each and every one of you, for your attention and support, because without you, this channel would not exist. So I'm very grateful to you guys. Thank you. That being said, let's talk about news now, and I will start with Crimean Peninsula because according to Russian media outlets, early morning today, Zelensky's regime did conduct quite a large drone strike in direction of Crimea. According to Rebor Telegram channel, and this channel is one of the biggest one in Russian language segment of Telegram. So according to Rebor, Zelensky's regime did launch at least 10 drones. 8 of them were neutralized. Some of them was shut down. Some of them was neutralized by Russian electronic warfare systems, radio electronic warfare systems. But 2 drones, according to latest data, 2 drones did reach Sevastopol and hit fuel depot. As a result, a huge fire erupted, and I did share footage on my Telegram channel about this. And according to reports from governor of Sevastopol, initially about 1,000 square meters of territory on this fuel depot was under fire. For this moment, as I understand, the Russian emergency services almost localized situation, and of course during the day they will deal with this with the consequences of the strike. Governor of Sevastopol did said that citizens of Sevastopol are not in danger. Residents of Sevastopol are not in danger, and situation is under control. Fortunately, no one was hurt. There were no injuries reported. At least that's information that we have for this moment. From Russian side, some not just ordinary citizens, but also quite high-ranking officials did make statements about this incident, and many of them did demand some harsh retaliatory measures from Moscow. Let's see how Moscow will react, but reaction will definitely take place. That's for sure. Let's continue now. This is RIA Novosti's report, according to which during the yesterday's heavy shelling of Donetsk, and I did report yesterday that Zelensky's regime was conducting strikes in direction of Donetsk by multi-launch rocket systems. So as a result of these strikes, 9 civilians lost their lives, among them 1 child. It's a tragedy, of course. 1 minibus was hit during these strikes, and many people died. This terrorist attack also on Zelensky's regime, and I hope one day those criminals will pay heavy price for all the crimes that they committed intentionally. You cannot say that this was a mistake, because they were shelling Donetsk with multi-launch rocket systems. As I understand, Soviet-era multi-launch rocket systems that not have guided ammunition. So they were basically just shelling in direction of. They were opening fire in direction of Donetsk city itself, in order to bring as much damage and as much pain to city and the residents of the city as possible. So it's a pure terrorist attack to kill civilians, and Zelensky and his henchmen should be punished for this action and for many other war crimes that they did committed. Let's continue, and this is TASS news agency, according to which head of IAEA, International Atomic Energy, Rafael Grossi, did said that Zaporozhye nuclear power plant yet again becoming target for some military activities, target for some shellings. But unfortunately, this individual, Rafael Grossi, did not say who is targeting Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. This plant is under Russian control, right? So it's not supposed to be very difficult for Rafael Grossi to, probably he has some, at least he went to school and he can calculate how much is 2 + 2. I mean, I'm not sure that he is truly intellectual, but at least simple calculations he is able to do. So if Zaporozhye nuclear power plant is under Russian control, who is shelling this plant? Answer is obvious, isn't it? It's Zelensky's terrorist regime, but Rafael Grossi did not say nothing about it. He just mentioned that, there are some shellings in the direction of Zaporozhye nuclear power plants, and experts from IAEA just recently were forced to take shelter because of this shelling and stuff like that. But he never even mentioned that it's Zelensky's regime that terrorized basically entire world with a nuclear disaster, because it's Zelensky's regime that firing in direction of Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. And by the way, yesterday I did report that those criminals even tried to hit with drones Kursk nuclear power plant. So you tell me what kind of individuals Zelensky and his henchmen are. Let's continue. And by the way, because we are talking about Zaporozhye, let me share with you latest information from the front lines. So in Kherson direction and Zaporozhye direction, it's mainly artillery duels between the sides. As I understand, the Russian side is preparing its defense lines as much as possible, and Zelensky's side is continuing to accumulate as much reserves as they possibly can pull off to conduct some offensive, announced counteroffensive operation in direction of Azov Sea. You know my take on this situation. In my understanding, in my reading of big picture, Zelensky's regime don't really have enough forces to conduct successful large-scale counteroffensive, and I believe Zelensky's regime won't be able to establish control over the Melitopol, for example, or Berdyansk. That's main targets for one of the main targets for Zelensky's regime, and I'm quite sure Ukrainian armed forces that are still loyal to Zelensky and his henchmen will not even come close to Mariupol. But they will definitely conduct some offensive operations, because Zelensky has to report to his Western masters, especially in Washington and London, that they are doing something. And because of it, I'm quite sure in coming days, maybe somewhere in the beginning of May, in first weeks of the May, Zelensky's regime will finally give order to Ukrainian forces to start offensive operations. But yet again, first few days they may achieve some success. They may move forward for a few kilometers, but basically that will be it. Once forward the units of Zelensky's regime will lose steam and will be stopped by Russian defense lines, then it's quite possible that it's Russian side that will conduct offensive operations and probably will try to destroy entire grouping of Ukrainian forces in Zaporozhye region. But yet again, I'm not military expert, so I can only share my reading of big picture. When it comes to Donetsk direction, it's also usual stuff. If Zaporozhye and Kherson, it's always or almost always artillery duels between the sides. In Donetsk direction, it's not just artillery duels, but close range fight between the units of Russian armed forces and Ukrainian side. And the usual hot point is Marinka, of course. And according to latest news, Russian side did manage to establish some additional positions in Marinka, and only few blocks are left under control of Zelensky's regime. And if that's the case, then probably, and this is Marinka, by the way, this settlement here, and if that's the case, then it's quite possible that Marinka will become under full Russian control even before Bakhmut will become under Russian control. So let's see how will situation develop. I will of course share with you all the latest updates in YouTube videos or on my Telegram page. Also hot point is Avdiivka, of course, but once again, as I understand, Russian side now are concentrated on Bakhmut mainly and on the defense lines in this land bridge between Crimea and mainland Russia to make sure that counteroffensive operations of Zelensky's regime will not achieve anything really. So when it comes to Bakhmut itself, let me use this map this time. So when it comes to Bakhmut itself, everything happened as I did predicted. Russian side established full control over this military base and northern parts here. in this small pocket that was under control of Zelensky's regime. Russian side also did conduct offensive operations from the south, and right now only this little pocket here of high-rise buildings, few blocks, are left under control of Zelensky's regime, and this Dachi area. And I call this Dachi area because it's if we zoom in, you can see that it's a small housing. It's 1 floor, 2 floor houses, and Bakhmut garnison, I believe, won't be able to hold on to this territory for long. Now, as I understand, main goal for Russian side is to establish control over these few high blocks that still have high-rise buildings, and because Zelensky's regime knows very well that it's only a matter of time where Russian side will establish control over this area, they are now blowing up buildings in the western part of this area in order to make sure that Russia will don't have observation points to have a fire control or observe situation in this area between Chisov Yar, in this opening between Chisov Yar and Bakhmut. But yet again, no matter what Zelensky's regime gonna do, fate of Bakhmut is already sealed. It will take, I don't know, day, 2, maybe week, and the entire town will become under full Russian control. And after that, even though for now not that many channels are talking about Chisov Yar, but in this context, but I will say that I believe after Bakhmut will become under full Russian control, it will only take few weeks max. And Chisov Yar, which is in about 11 kilometers from Bakhmut. So this is Chisov Yar, by the way. This is Bakhmut. This is Chisov Yar. So I believe in 1 or 2 weeks time, Chisov Yar will, garnison of Chisov Yar will collapse and run away, and this town will become under full Russian control. Let's see, but I don't think defense lines of Zelensky's regime here are strong enough to withstand Russian offensives once Bakhmut will be under full control. Let's continue with some other news now, and this is also interesting because the TASS news agency is reporting that 40 countries, deputies of defense ministers of 40 countries, majority of them NATO members, were had a meeting yesterday, and one of the main points of that meeting was air defense systems of Ukraine. So now it's I mean, everyone knows that Zelensky's regime almost lost its air defense capabilities, and it seems like Western elites, in order to somehow keep sky over the Ukraine close, they are now discussing deliveries of air defense systems. And if you remember, I did say after tragedy occurred in Uman, when Zelensky's regime did use air defense systems over the city, and as a result, civilian building was hit and civilians have lost life. I did say that this tragedy was on Zelensky's regime, because I'm absolutely sure that Zelensky's regime specially use air defense systems to create such a tragedy, and then use it as a tool to force or to ask Western elites for some more weapons, more money, especially air defense systems. And yesterday afternoon, Russian media outlets did write this information that now Western elites are discussing exactly this topic, to deliver some air defense systems to Ukraine. So, you know, those sinister mass murderers, man, they are capable of any crime, really. And I'm sure when I see this information, I mean, the first thing that come up to my mind was that, you know, I was right. I was right that Zelensky's regime specially shut down, specially used air defense systems to create tragical situation, so that then they will use this as a instrument to ask West for more weapons, especially air defense systems, and for more money. And exactly this is happening, man. So, I mean, Zelensky should be, I mean, Zelensky and his henchmen, they should be sentenced for life, man. For life, for all the crimes that they committed. Those mass murderers, man. Let's continue with some other news. This is RIA Novosti's report. And yes, this is quite interesting, man. This information shows how detached from reality Zelensky and his henchmen really are, because head of presidential office of Zelensky, Mikhail Podolyak, demanded from China to distance itself from Russia and to make choice. China is on side of Zelensky and his Nazi henchmen, or China is on side of Russia. I mean, in Beijing, maybe no one even pay any attention anymore to what Zelensky and his henchmen have to say, but if someone there did read this information, they were probably laughing, man. Because who are you, man? Who are you, Mikhail Podolyak? Who are you, man? Nothing. Just zero. And you are demanding from China what? Let's continue. And this is TASS News Agency's report, according to which Foreign Minister of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, did made a statement during his appearance, as I understand, video appearance before a conference of global conference of multipolarity. So yes, I mean, I did not even knew that there are some conference about multipolarity, but yes, there is, and countries are working in these directions, using also some conferences. And Lavrov said during his speech that US and West basically did fail to isolate Russia, which is absolutely true. To be honest, I think Western states probably are much more isolated from the world that Russia is. And I don't know, you tell me if you don't have a similar take on this picture, because many countries in this world, because they are scared of West, they may not say openly anything, but when it comes to real relationships, I believe towards Russia, much more countries had a friendly attitude than towards Western states. And this is all because of these crazy policies that Western elites are conducting, because I don't think anyone in a straight mind has any problems with Western states itself. Of course not. But world do have a problem with Western elites. And it's obvious. And I said many times before, man, if this anti-Russian and anti-human, really, policies of Western elites will continue, Western elites will find themselves eventually in full isolation from the rest of the world. That's what will happen. It's just inevitable. So let's continue. This is Kommersant newspaper's report, according to which Israel did strike Syria once again. This time Homs area was striked, and I did share on my Telegram channel some video footage from some huge fires were on areas that were hit. According to some reports, it was a fuel depot that was hit. According to some other reports, it was ammunition depots. But yet again, these kind of actions from Israel not just harms relationship between Israel and Arab nations or Israel and Syria per se, but these kind of strikes do harm relationships between Israel and Russia, Israel and China, Israel and India, and that's why I hope I don't know, man. Russia, China, India, Brazil, South Africa, whoever will manage to bring to the table of negotiations leadership of Israel and the neighboring countries, because this cannot continue forever. This confrontation between these countries, man, it's just not normal, for God's sake. And probably everyone is sick and tired with this unfinished destruction, unending destruction that has been caused because of this unresolved issues between Israel and its neighbors. It's time for peace, for God's sake, man. Let's continue. This is TASS News Agency's report. Very interesting news, really, because I did report in previous updates that lately high-ranking Turkish officials did make quite strong statements in direction of US, in direction of UK, in direction of Western elites in general. Especially active was Minister of Internal Affairs of Turkey. But now we have statement from Foreign Minister of Turkey, Çavuşoğlu. He spoke about grain deal, and he said that this deal did not work properly in accordance to plan because of US and the UK's stance. So he openly blamed basically Washington and London, and these kind of statements once again highlights difficulties in relationships between current Turkish government and Western elites. Just yesterday, we had reports about statements that Minister of Internal Affairs of Turkey did made, according to which Washington and Washington and the West, basically, European centers of decision making, did give an order to Turkish opposition that are under their control to do everything they can, basically to conduct some regime change operation to remove Erdogan. So these kind of statements are not made for just for attention, I'm quite sure, and I believe May will be very hot in Turkey, and I'm not sure if Erdogan will manage to, even if he will win in the presidential election, I'm not sure he will be able to keep the office, because US and if Western elites are planning to do some regime change because of a failed attempt of military coup quite a few years ago, this time they will probably use some more resources to remove Erdogan from the office. So I don't know what will happen, but May gonna be very difficult months for Turkey, that's for sure. TASS News Agency's report. This is next news, according to which, let me check the time. 29 minutes. Oh, it's okay. So this is quite interesting because according to TASS News Agency, US is conducting testing of underwater drones, and according to US officials, these drones may become a game changer, and they may cardinally extremely influence the situation in the Taiwan Strait. So once again, where is the USA and where is the Taiwan, which is a part of China, by the way, and who tell Biden or his administration or US elites in general that it's their business to, intervene in Chinese internal affairs. It's none of their business, but yet again, this information highlights this hegemonical approach of US towards world, and they are trying now to, they are testing some underwater drones to somehow influence China so that Beijing will be forced to stay away from Taiwan. It's not possible, man. It's just not possible. Taiwan is a part of China, and Beijing will never say no to establish control over that island. The point is that, as I understand, man, China, even though China is preparing its military, and China is a second country in this world with China has second biggest military budget in this world, more than 200 billion, somewhere about 250 billion a year. But still, at least for now, Chinese policies are that they want to bring Taiwan into China with peace, not with fire force, not with military force, but because US has a huge influence over the Taiwan, they may provoke conflict easily. So, and they are preparing its military. They are now testing some underwater drones. I don't think they're gonna be game changers really, but and this is also interesting news because US ground forces banned all flights of aviation, its military aviation, because of recent crashes. Which have took lives of 12 US soldiers, and this is RBK News Agency's report, according to which pilots of US ground forces will receive additional training, and only then they will be able to fly again. Unbelievable information, really, because how these pilots were able to, these pilots receive approval to conduct flights if they were not ready. This kind of information truly shows a deterioration of readiness of US military personnel, really. That's what these kind of informations are highlighting, isn't it? Because, how are you gonna give a pilot a permission to fly on a plane or helicopter if he is not ready, if he needs some additional training, man? It's not right, isn't it? But for now, yes, that's information that all aviation of US ground forces are not permitted to fly. Let's continue. This is a TASS News Agency report, according to which Putin spoke about new Russian territories, Donetsk People's Republic, Lugansk People's Republic, Zaporozhye and Kherson region, and during his speech he said that these new territories are historic Russian land, and people that live there are integral part of Russian society. And yes, he is absolutely right. Basically, all those territories almost all of it was given to Ukraine by communists after revolution in the beginning of 20th century, especially Lenin, man. He was giving away Russian land like I don't know, hot cakes, man. You take this. It's crazy, man. What he was doing. And I believe not just Zaporozhye, Kherson, Odessa, or Lugansk regions, but I believe Kharkov region is historic Russian territory, and people that are live there are part of Russian society. And same I can say about Odessa region, and same I can say about Kiev itself. So yes, Putin is absolutely right. I'm not gonna say same, let's say, about Lvov and western regions of Ukraine. No, because when it comes to history, these territories, since countries were created, and these territories were belong to, in some cases Hungary, in some cases Poland, in some cases Romania. So I'm not gonna say same about western regions of Ukraine, but when it comes to central, eastern, and southern regions of Ukraine, of course, it's historic Russian territory, and these territories were and are part of Russian historical and cultural heritage. It's absolutely right. So, I mean, Putin is correct. Absolutely. Let's continue. This is also TASS News Agency's report, according to which during the Victory Parade on 9th of May, units that were conducting operations in a zone of special military operation will also participate in Victory Parade, which is absolutely understandable, and it should be this way. Absolutely. Those forces that are conducting special military operation, they should be represented on the Victory Parade, and I think it's a right decision. And by the way, this information also answer to questions that I see in the comment sections about Victory Parade. Some of you did ask me if some of you were commenting that this year parade may not take place, Victory Parade, but no. There will be Victory Parade. There will be celebration of victory over the Nazism and fascism, and the difference between the previous celebrations may be that Russia may not use military aviation this time. But this is also not certain. As I understand, no final decision yet been made when it comes to military aviation. But Victory Parade itself will definitely take place. And I did share on my Telegram channel footage of preparation when Russian military personnel is undergoing training in the night time for Victory Parade. Let me continue now, and this is also interesting. This is also interesting because Putin did sign law yesterday, according to which citizens of other countries will be able to receive Russian citizenship easier if they are answering to at least 20 categories that were listed in this law. So because many of you did write to me that you are thinking to move to Russia, but you don't know, how difficult or easy it's going to be. This law will definitely help. Definitely will be helpful for foreigners to move to Russia and receive Russian citizenship. So, as I said many times before, Russia has a great opportunity to become a great attractor for citizens of not just Southeast Asia or Africa or Latin America, but also a Western world, because and mainly because Russia is possibly last stronghold of when it comes to Western culture or cultural or historical area. Russia is probably the last place where traditions and family values last stronghold. That traditions and family values do have meaning. So that's why I think, Moscow should work in this direction to attract more and more citizens, more and more people, because Russia do needs more citizens, for God's sake. Russian population is only about 150 million, but same time Russia is the biggest country in this world. So if it was up to me, I will definitely encourage citizens of other countries to at least to have double citizenship, to have Russian citizenship also, but to even better if they will move to Russia and will participate in development of Russian economy, Russian society, Russia as a state itself. So yes, this is a absolutely good decision. So, but by the way, this law will start working after 180 days from New Year, basically, as I understand. So, yes, this is gonna be last news for today. Russian central bank did not change its basic percentage rate, which is so central bank kept the key rate at 7.5%, and this decision was made because even though prices more or less are stabilized, according to head of central bank Nabiullina, there are some inflationary risks, and this percentage point 7.5 cannot be reduced yet. And probably this is a right decision, and it's good that Russian central bank and Russian bloc of this financial and economical direction is paying attention to inflation, because it's very important stuff for us, for households with low and middle income. Rich people may never even feel any inflation because they are rich, they don't care, but we do feel when prices go up, man. And it's good that central bank is paying attention to this also. So yes, this is it for now. I hope you will find this video interesting, and if so, please hit that like button, leave some commentary about any topic you like, and if you can, please share links to my videos with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, or any other platform that you are active on. And if you think this channel is interesting, useful, and has some potential and deserves to exist, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You will see links under this video in the description box. This is it for now. Have a great weekend and take care. See you soon.